Hey guys, Comic Boom here to review Wonder Woman issue 759, Mariko Tamaki's debut issue of Wonder Woman, starring a bunny and MaxLord. What do I think of it? Is it time to rant? Of course it is. Let's talk about this. One of the first things I noticed about this opening debut issue of Mariko Tamaki's Wonder Woman is the title itself is I Walk the Line. I Walk the Line. And that's interesting because as this issue opens up, it is clear first out of the gate that Mikel Janen's art is fantastic and the colors by Jordi Polaire also fantastic. And it introduces us to Wonder Woman. Mariko Tamaki does a good job of setting things up for potentially new readers that might be unfamiliar with Wonder Woman if they've been living under a rock for their entire life. But you know what I mean. It basically goes through the motions, talking about how Wonder Woman's an ambassador. She came from an island of female warriors to fight for humanity, and humanity has taken her up on that, etc., etc. It's a fairly obvious introduction, but one that sort of sets the pace, and I think it's almost as if Mariko Tamaki is just sort of getting her own handle on the character. And there's a quick reference after showing the Cheetah and Ares and Wonder Woman fighting with the Justice League. It then shows MaxLord. And what's interesting here is that MaxLord is the only villain that Wonder Woman has ever killed. That she's ever killed in comic books, where she's intentionally used lethal force on another human being. And this is very, very significant. Now, she says, and the wording is interesting, she says she also, in speaking about Wonder Woman, Mariko Tamaki, or the narrator says, she also fought a man named MaxLord, an ordinary man who became powerful, could control minds, an ordinary man who tried to stop a hero whose power he saw as a threat to humanity. Now, and then it goes on, and then it changes scenes. But I want to focus on that for a second. First of all, I don't like the fact that she calls him MaxLord. It's MaxLord. That's who he is. Call him MaxLord. I don't know why that bugs me, but it does. It's MaxLord. Second, what's interesting here is that it's unclear what the continuity is regarding MaxLord. MaxLord was killed by Wonder Woman, and I don't know what the narrator would be referring to when it says that MaxLord tried to stop a hero because he saw heroes as a threat to humanity. We know that from the Brother Eye storyline back in 2008 and 2009, where in the build up to Infinite Crisis, MaxLord killed Blue Beetle and ultimately at one point had controlled the mind of Superman to kill Wonder Woman and to wreak havoc on the planet. And Wonder Woman, in order to stop Superman, had to eliminate MaxLord's control over him. And Wonder Woman threw her magic lasso around MaxLord and said, "How do I stop you? Will you ever stop controlling Superman?" And he said no. And realizing that there's no other way that Wonder Woman could stop MaxLord from having Superman go crazy and continue to be under his control, she snapped MaxLord's neck, killing him. Now, that was in the pre-Rebirth, pre-Flashpoint storyline. So now, are those chain of events in continuity in the DC universe? Well, probably not directly, but indirectly they probably are. And the reason for that, it was established in Lois Lane issue 10. Now you might say, why am I referencing that? It's because it's been established that various people, ordinary citizens to superheroes to supervillains, have memories on Earth designate 0 of other incarnations of themselves in other universes and in other timelines. So it's possible that this MaxLord and Wonder Woman herself might actually remember an alternate timeline where she did in fact snap MaxLord's neck. You never know. I kind of hope she does, because I kind of like the history there. I like the idea of MaxLord having a healthy respect for Wonder Woman, remembering that at some point in his past, or even an alternate timeline, that this is a woman that's not afraid to end him if necessary. And I like the fact that it shows a more aggressive Wonder Woman. Now, having said that, as the story begins, Wonder Woman is moving into a new apartment in Washington, D.C. Now, what's interesting about that is Wonder Woman, as in the previous arc anyway, going back to James Robinson's run, she had basically moved into a place on the Asian coast. Actually, that was Greg Rucka. Greg Rucka, I believe, established that in his Rebirth run, that Wonder Woman had a nice little beachfront property on the Asian coast. And now suddenly we see at the beginning of this issue, she's moving into an apartment in Washington, D.C. And it's beautifully illustrated by Mikel Shannon, and in a scene where a bunch of I'm guessing Amazons are helping Wonder Woman move into her new apartment, and we get a new character. Speculator alert! Speculator alert! Mulaney, the first appearance of Mulaney. Who's Mulaney? Mulaney is a pet rabbit. Mulaney is a rabbit that Wonder Woman talks to. You heard it, a bunny. We have a bunny in this issue. Unbelievable, just fantastic. Beautifully drawn by Mikel Shannon, and the bunny belongs to a young girl named Emma. Now, again, speculator alert. This Emma will likely become the superhero slash antihero slash whatever disturbed young child called Liar Liar. Now, what's the power base or the power set of Liar Liar? We don't know. All we know is that we have this new character with kind of pink purple hair. You know what that usually means, right? But in any event, this new character, Emma, she's got a pet bunny, and she lives in another apartment in the same building where Diana is moving into in Washington, D.C. Now, Mariko Tamaki, to set things up, she does a couple of things that are a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, but they're kind of comical, and I guess I can try to go with it. Emma, this young teenage girl, takes Wonder Woman shopping because Wonder Woman is moving in all of her Greek furnishings and her Greek swords and her Greek vases into this apartment building, and she needs furniture, and so they go furniture shopping, and this is where it gets a little odd. Wonder Woman, for whatever reason, makes comments about she can't believe how expensive furniture is, and it seems a little bit. She always seems like a fish out of water. I remember back in following Alan Heinberg's run, Jodi Picoult, however you say her name. She's a novelist, and she wrote a scene in her 4-issue Wonder Woman run, or 6-issue Wonder Woman run, where Wonder Woman didn't know how to fill up with gas because she's so naive because she's so tied up doing things with the Justice League, and she's from an island of Themyscira, an isolated island of women, that she apparently doesn't know how humanity functions on a day-to-day basis. And in the suggestion here that Wonder Woman is shocked by the economy, shocked by the price of furniture, she seems too much like a fish out of water. And it seems she's been around since World War II. She's been around, at least in this new continuity. I think the editor should have caught that and said, come on, like, Wonder Woman is not a complete idiot. It shouldn't surprise Wonder Woman at all what things cost. I mean, especially since she's been literally... Wonder Woman should know more about the economy of the world than pretty much anyone on the world right now, certainly the mortals on it. But anyways, I digress. It makes for a nice scene. It establishes Wonder Woman's rapport with a sort of a younger member, a new interesting character that we know is going to become Liar Liar. And what's interesting about that is that I like how that sort of might play in future issues in her antagonistic relationship with MaxLord. Now, Maxwell Lord. Now, as the scene continues, as they're leaving the furniture store, somebody in the parking lot loses their mind. A young housewife with her family seems to lose her mind and throw her child into a vehicle and drive off in a sporadic fashion, in a dangerous manner, and Wonder Woman has to go and stop this vehicle. And it's a beautifully illustrated scene, gorgeously illustrated, gorgeously drawn by Mikel Shannon, where Wonder Woman is chasing this vehicle down a freeway, and jumps over the vehicles and prevents a massive collision between the vehicle and an 18-wheeler. And it becomes apparent that this woman had no control over her mind. She seemed to know what she seemed to be aware of what she was doing, but at the same time she saw different things than what were actually happening, which was a clear indication that she's been mind controlled. And it's certainly something how one would describe an experience after being taken control over by MaxLord, because MaxLord is a very powerful psychic, arguably the most powerful psychic on the planet. Now, immediately following that later that evening, or what we can guess is later that evening, Wonder Woman is called into a maximum prison facility that's on high alert because 174 prisoners are breaking out of the prison, and all of them are essentially metahumans. All of them have powers, and when she gets there, she correctly guesses, much to the surprise of the prison guards, that, let me guess, you have a psychic in here as well. And how did you know that? And she goes, that's just a hunch. So clearly, it would appear that MaxLord intentionally got Wonder Woman's attention by creating the incident, that traffic incident, that initially got Wonder Woman's attention. And when that's followed by a prison break in a prison that holds MaxLord, it's likely not a coincidence, and Wonder Woman correctly guesses that it's not. And the issue ends with Wonder Woman breaking into the prison and incapacitating all of the prisoners, who are all, it would appear, trying to break out. But then once Wonder Woman gets there, MaxLord shows himself and uses his powers and tells all the prisoners to die, to stop, and then he tells them to die, and they literally all stab themselves and they kill themselves, and then it's just him and Wonder Woman at the end of the issue, and that's really it. Now, I gotta say, right out of the gate here, I gotta give Mariko Tamaki some compliments that it's definitely whet my appetite. I thought it was a little jarring at first, because it literally starts off with a bunny and ends with the world's greatest psychic who's a murderous killer. So we start off with bunnies and we end up with MaxLord. There's something crazy about that I actually enjoy. I like that, because you really get two of those extreme ends of what Wonder Woman is. On the one hand, Wonder Woman can talk to bunnies. She can talk to little rabbits. She can befriend young teenage girls that might have some sort of form of dyslexia, because Emma has to write certain words on her hand, like rug and carrots for Mulaney the rabbit. So Wonder Woman can relate to people, she can save people, she can help people, but yet she's got that warrior side that she also has to work with warriors, fight gods, fight evil on a massive level that boggles the mind of mere mortals. And I thought that Tamaki does a reasonably good job here of showing those two factions, but those two sides of Wonder Woman, or actually it's multifaceted. And when it's wrapped in such a beautiful package here, as it was by Mikel Janin, it's impressive. I gotta say, overall, this was an issue that I hope people check out. And again, for speculators, this is the first appearance of Emma, who will become, I believe, the character known as Liar Liar. MaxLord is back in full glory. I really hope that what Mariko Tamaki has to say about Wonder Woman's capacity for good and her potential use of lethal force, I hope it's something that this story addresses those things in some way. I know that Greg Rucka, who originally wrote the Sacrifice arc, one of the frustrations that Greg Rucka has openly stated before is that his Wonder Woman run was actually interrupted because he was fired by DC, or otherwise had a falling out with them, and he couldn't complete the storyline following the death of MaxLord. When he had Wonder Woman snap MaxLord's neck, that wasn't the end of the story. He didn't want to end the story with Wonder Woman being seen as a killer. He wanted to explain it and justify it. And he did so in interviews, but he wasn't able to finish that story because Wonder Woman is a character that she's a pragmatist. She's the one member of the Trinity that will give her life, of course, as any superhero would, to save humanity. But she also believes that if you cannot cage an animal, if an animal is a monster, if any living being is a monster, and you can't stop it, and it's killing, and you can't stop it, and you cannot cage it, and you cannot rehabilitate it, that if that scenario exists, then the only option is you must kill it. And it's okay to kill it, and as terrible as though it might seem, you have to do what has to be done, and that's why Wonder Woman back then snapped MaxLord's neck. Now, whether or not Mariko Tamaki is going to carry on thematically and address that controversial aspect of Wonder Woman's history, i.e. her use of lethal force to stop a villain, in a manner which I think is more exciting than anything Superman has ever done, killing the 3 Phantom Zone criminals, or Batman's ongoing angst about never killing the Joker. I'm really curious to see what Mariko Tamaki has to say about that, and to see thematically where she's going to be taking this story. I note again that the title of this opening issue of Mariko Tamaki saying "I Walk the Line." That's the title of this opening issue. And I walk the line. What is that line that Wonder Woman walks? And I think that Wonder Woman walks that fine line between fighting for good while battling for evil, and perhaps that fine line can be the line between whether to use lethal force or not, and where do you draw the line, and to what efforts and lengths should you go to prevent using lethal force. That's me just speculating, but I want to give compliments to Mariko Tamaki here. Earlier on the Slack, I gave this a 6.5, but the more I read it and the more I spoke with others about it, I'm gonna increase it. I'm gonna increase my score to a 7. So this is a solid 7 out of 10. Art-wise, I give it a 9. I think Mariko Tamaki have done a really good job here in an opening issue. I recommend people check this out. And guys, tell me what you think of this opening issue. And in the meantime, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter at Metropolis40. Don't forget to go out and enjoy the summer and have a Corona. The beer, not the virus. And until then, next time, Comic Boom out.